Well, welcome to the Women's March Canada podcast, making the equality of women in Canada the new norm. This is episode 62, titled The Show About Simone RC. My name is Melissa Durrell, and I'm your host. Women's March Canada inspires, unites, and leads the charge for the advancement of women across Canada, and we're going to talk about that today, actually. I'm excited. Please welcome this week's guest, Simone Cunningham. Hi, Simone.
Hi, how are you, Melissa? Great.
So good. I know, on this crazy snowy day. This is Canada, literally. I should show everyone our pic outside. Simone is the owner and CEO of SRC Creative Media Group, which produces the YouTube program, The Show About, with Simone RC. Because the show about, we'll figure that out every show. The show, which Simone is the host and moderator of, introduces the world to emerging talent in the art, entertainment, and fashion industry. And your experience in the entertainment industry is extensive, like as an on-air personality, an actress, and a fashion model. So what an amazing career. Let's kind of start at the beginning. I'm curious about, were you always kind of interested in hosting? Are you a question asker? That's what I always found. I was always asking lots of questions, and I'm assuming you were kind of in that same bag. So tell me about, well, how did you get into this business?
Very much so. This kind of just kind of dropped into my lap. I've always been nosy. I'm always asking.
I like the word curious.
Okay, curious.
Yeah.
I wonder what. Yeah, I've always been, wanting to find out, the more. It's like, no, okay, you just handed me this, but I want more. What is it? And I'm always wanting to be the cheerleader for those that are not getting the props that they deserve. And so basically just kind of rolled into it. I started the show with total accident. I was at Toronto Fashion Week, and I was sitting front row. I was waiting on, the icon, Jeannie Becker, to sit next to me. And we were waiting, and there was a kid, basically. He had all of his designs on his phone, and he's just like scrolling, making sure that his designs didn't, kind of mimic or, mirror anything that we were going to be seeing. And I was looking at his stuff, and I was like, wait, is that your designs? And he's like, yeah, real quiet. And wow, it's like, I like your stuff. I'm like, better than this that I'm watching, and I had to pay for. And I just kind of, talked to him after the show, and I asked him, well, what are you doing in order to get this, being seen? I was like, this is so awesome. And he said that, the challenges that, people come up with, of course, they're calling now. It's like, the challenges that they do is get the designs complete, but they don't have the time or the funds to go out and do advertisement. Or they focus on the advertisement, then their designs, start to falter. Mm-hmm. Or, it's timing, it's financing, it's getting out there, knowing, at that time, social media, advertising and marketing was just brand new. Mm-hmm. And so no one really knew what to do. And, I'm the walking, talking billboard. I mean, it's like, I'm originally from Kansas City, Missouri. That's what they do. It's an advertising town, and everything is on billboards because, it's a lot of driving. And I've known, a lot of driving. Yes, it's a lot of miles out there. It's not as flat as everyone thinks, and we don't have a lot of tornadoes. But but that was one of the things that was like, you need a walking, talking billboard. You need a cheerleader. And he was like, where am I going to find that? I mean, he just looked so perplexed. And I'm like, I can do it.
So many artists are like that too. And I want to get back to that. But first I want to find out, how did you get to Canada?
That's always
when you think about fashion, I mean, and totally correct me if I'm wrong, but you'd think you'd like New York or Milan, Italy, or London, England. But Canada?
I've been there. Yeah. I haven't been to London yet, but that's on my bucket list. But how I got into Canada was there was an opportunity. I was living in Chicago, and there was an opportunity to get back into the fashion industry because I took 10 years off to you know, do the family thing and, you know, buy picket fence, get the dog, get the baby. And, you know, and I did well, but it was a could do, not something that was, you know, your heart, your soul, your, you know, your vision, you know, that your purpose. And when we had the opportunity to move, it's like, you know, we have, you know, a chance to maybe move to California, or we could go to Toronto. Nope, Toronto. And he was like, wow, you said that quick. You know, you haven't been there. It's so awesome. And it was very a sister city to Chicago.
Yeah.
You know, it's up and coming on that aspect of, you know, doing tech and fashion. I mean, it's just so great. And when we moved here, I found that I have a Southern accent for some reason.
I can hear it. I can hear it.
I don't. But I think it's just because, you know, I have a lot of Southern relatives, and when we go visit, you know, it kind of sticks to you like mud.
Oh, yeah.
I say, hi, y'all, and I go, oh, it's all done. So, but I decided, you know, when we came in, I was going to stay with because I was working in credit and collections and doing post-audit and finance things, you know, and I did that purposely because I wanted to show, you know, us models, we're smart too, right? And I finished up
I mean, I know I watched a TED Talk with a model talking about that. And is that a huge barrier to going from a model to a business person?
Very much so. Yeah. You'll see a lot of female models will migrate over into broadcasting because
That makes sense, yeah.
You know, but then you still have to prove yourself beyond compare, because it's like, oh, you know, you're just a pretty face, you know, they just give you something to read, and then no, I'm not stupid. I mean, I was that one that was in that farmhouse, you know, bathroom practicing with the Prel bottle of exactly what I was going to say when I accept my Emmy Award for broadcast excellence. 15. and I've got that, you know, that speech memorized, and that's one of the things that I wanted to do, but I didn't want it to focus on me. I wanted it to be, you know, a pay it forward kind of situation. And so when I made the decision, I said, you know what, I think I want to go back into fashion. And they were like, okay. But then I started thinking, wow, that's going to be an arduous task, because then I have to go do photos, and I've got to do, you know, get back down to the weight, because, you know, deep dish pizza every other night in Chicago.
Is amazing. I've had it. It's where I think I did it one night, and then the next day I was like, I have to have it a second day. Yeah. Twice in 24 hours. So talk to me a little bit about the business that you're actually running, because I mean, as a model, you're working for someone.
Yes.
You know, at home you're running your household, but it's a little bit different than running your own company. So how did you transition into that?
Face first. It was I was getting a studio rental down in the beaches in you know, downtown Toronto, and they wanted me to have a business license. And I'm like, I just want to film the show here, you know, because it's, you know, it's a great location. I love the beaches, and you know, it's not a lot of it's a great foot traffic. And it's like, well, now you should really have, you know, a business. And I said, well, I can't really parlay the business of my show to a brick and mortar business. So one of my friends, that was a phenomenal photographer, Rohan Laylor, he made the suggestion. He said, you know what, why don't you create a production company, and then have that to be producing the show, and then you'll have, you know, your business license. I'm like, well, okay, you know, and yeah, it just kind of evolved, and then I started growing, and then I downsized, and then I started growing slowly. I mean, it's been an education. I mean, serious education by fire. That's the best way I can describe it.
Well, you know, I love the problem solving of entrepreneurs, where you're like, I just really want to do a show, but that doesn't work. So how do we figure that out? So, you know, you do the creative company. Now I want to talk about some of the people you've interviewed, because it's, I mean, I mean, some of the people, and I'm embarrassed to say that as a Canadian, I don't know a lot of the fashion, the people who are creating brilliant designs. So I love what you're doing because I think it's important. And I think so many Canadians are doing, and I'd love you to talk more about this, but there's, they're designing with sustainable fabrics, and there's a lot of thought that goes around it. And I'm curious because it's actually a very rich, vibrant fashion community. Is that right? Yeah.
Much so. It's growing. I was talking to the founder of Startup Fashion Week, Jody Goodfellow, and she was saying that there's so much overlap now where when I started back into the industry, I came back March of 2010, and I was a volunteer for, World MasterCard Fashion Week under Robin Kay. And I was just blown away where I was like, hey, they've got gorgeous, clothing you can get at the grocery store. It's like, wow, so fresh, look at this. And now they have standalone stores in New York. I mean, the Canadian fashion is really putting their footprint out there. And in addition to, that's why I support a lot of the businesses that support those particular arts. And we're parlaying over into covering film, because, getting your own film produced is tough, and you want to, stay true to your art and your craft. But a lot of times, it's like keeping the roof over my head is tough. But I mean, with the fashion industry, that was what I thought. I started there because I knew I could talk to it credibly. And the one that stands out the best and the most to me is, and I'm blessed to call him my friend, is Christopher Bates. He just showed last week on the week of my birthday was Toronto Fashion Week, and his stuff was amazing. It was simplistic but detailed, and and it's a menswear clothing line, and it's just like, I could wear that, I could put a scarf with that, and it's doable. And where he was just so open and and honest, and he was just so supportive of that aspect of, here is someone that's supporting our art and our creativity. And only thing I wanted in return was a great, credible conversation. I needed them to advertise for them. I was just putting them on like,
it's interesting to me because I worked in news for a long time, and the entertainment reporter, oftentimes they just pull some stories off the wire, and it was mostly American Hollywood stories. And it occurred to me as we're talking, what you're truly doing is you're investigating artists and fashion. And do you think that there's, because and I'm interested because you're an American too, do you think in Canada that we're not spotlighting our Canadian, the true Canadian entertainment space?
Right.
Wow. Yeah.
Right. And it's needed. I mean, because there's so much talent, not just in Toronto. I mean, all across the board, so far as for Canadian talent. And I mean, look at Mike Myers. Look at Jim Carrey. Look at Pamela Anderson. I love Pamela Anderson. I mean, these are the people that they started off. I mean, Bieber, Drake, they all had to go to the States in order to get some kind of fame and glory and recognition. And and I'm an American. I'm born and raised. I've been there. And I understand that concept of having to go to a whole other country in order to prove yourself in your own country, which I think is backwards, but whatever. Mm-hmm. This is just the norm. Mm-hmm. Why can't we change the norm? I mean, it's like, spotlight us that are here, and keep our revenue here, keep our talent here, and make the country that we have, absolutely fabulous.
Yeah. Tell me about some of the other people you've interviewed. I'm interested.
Oh wow. I got to interview, and it's funny, once I interview them, they become lifelong friends and family members. My first interview was Bart Rashan. He is an amazing actor. He started on several different projects, but when I met him 20 minutes before I interviewed him, and he was just a kindred spirit. We are a day apart in our birthdays. We're both Aquarians, and it's either, Aquarius, we either get along or we don't. And it was just, boom, we were like connected, like, oh my gosh, buddies for life. And and I really pride myself in not doing a lot of takes. Unless you're nervous and we stop it, we can edit. Edit is king. I mean, it's like, this is a credible conversation about what you're doing. Yeah. What have you, where you got started, what have you accomplished so far, what you're working on in the future, and just to get your name out there, because I want to go, oh, look what I got. Yeah. He started, when I met him, he was on Nadia G's Bitchin' Kitchen, and he was the character Hans, and he was always with his shirt off. And I was just like, I get to interview you because you're on the Food Network, man. I was the Food Network, and we were just chatting and having a good time. And I wanted to ask questions that no one had asked, and I'm a research hound. I mean, I would get bogged into the research, the dirty bits before I, hit somebody up. And I started off with 3 to 5 questions, wanting to ask, where you got started, what you doing now, where you going forward. And then I gave him a puppy dog question. And that puppy dog question is like, when your dog goes, huh? It turns his head sideways. And it was just a bizarre question to get into their headspace and see more about their personality. And it was just flowing. It was so great. And then, I was doing my closeout. He's gonna kill me when I tell him. And I was doing the closeout, and I was like, and thank you to, I think I called him Brett or something.
You got the name wrong?
Interview. It was like 22 minutes, really perfect. Thanks to Brett Rashad or Brad. No, I called it Brad. It was Brad Rashad, and he goes, "Who the hell is Brad?" And it just fell apart. It was just like, I'm melting in the chair. But that was like my first interview ever. I mean, because the concept, I started, it was in my head, and I was talking to my former agent, Ian Reeve, and Ian is like my cheerleader. He was the one that, I told him, I said, I really want to get out of the runway gig. I mean, because these are kids that are 15, they look 20. I don't want to keep competing against them because I'm going into my 50s, and he was just like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, TV talk show. And I kept telling him, and he said, okay, go do it. Gave me no safety net. Just do it. Because I know how you are. If I help you and help you and help you and help you, you won't pursue it. If I say, go do it. And I did it. And that was my first one. We have the bloopers. I probably will do that like in the 10th anniversary or something. It was just like, oh no.
Well, and I want to encourage people too, like when you go to your channel, the music is on right away, so I apologize, that was me there. But there's so many videos, there's so much to look at. Yeah. Could you, for people who are, because we're going to link to it here, what's one you recommend? The must-see.
The must-see. Aliyah Shan. Aliyah Shan is an amazing comedian, and I got him from my mentor's show, George Strombo.
Okay.
And he was on his 3 panel, and I was
Hold up. Your mentor's George?
Yes.
How did that happen?
Because I was a pretty face, and I was wanting to.
Don't do that. That's not right. How's he your mentor? Yeah.
Okay, no. I researched all these people that are within the Canadian Broadcasting Network, and I
cold called him.
Yeah, I Googled him. Yeah.
And how long has he been your mentor?
Let's see. I attended the show for, let's see, the show about 3 years in
That's
the audience.
fantastic.
And
Yeah.
I came in with my glasses and I'm taking my notes and I was watching everything and checking out, okay, I want I don't want 5 cameras, I want this. And
yeah.
Funny because I was always in the back and his production assistant kept moving me up toward the front. And then eventually I'm in the front row while he's interviewing Mike Holmes.
Oh,
and I'm like taking notes in there, and they were taking a break, and he comes up, he smacks my notebook out of my hand, and he goes, "We put the pretty people in the front for a reason." And I was just like, and he was like, kidding. Simone, you've got this. I'm like, okay. I didn't even know he knew of me, and he really had kept an eye out. And I told him, I said, you just kind of been my silent mentor. And he goes, I'm not silent anymore.
Very cool.
That's where it went. It just rocketed, and I was just taking it in. It was like a sponge. Enrico Cantone, oh, I love him. He's from Vaughan. I work in Woodbridge, and I mean, oh my God, after his interview, I came up and I said, you should come on my show. I've never been scared of folks, because I'm just a handful. And he was like, yeah, I should. And he looks up at me because I'm 6'1", yeah, it's just, that's the way it is. And he's looked up at me and he goes, wow, you're a tall drink of water. And just right off the bat, I'm like, well, you'll never be thirsty again.
Gosh.
He goes, oh my God, I like you. And I've always been that way, where if I can get you to laugh, I got you. And you're mine, you're my bud. And I told George, I said, now he has his own show, and he's doing the Trombo show, and I know he's been extremely busy. But right before he closed out the George Strophenopoulos show, I had told him, he was saying that he wanted, and he was transferring. I mean, he was going over to Hockey Night in Canada.
Right.
And he's like, I just really want to get a show that I can interview those my friends and all this stuff. And I said, well, you should come on my show. And he goes, I will. And I'm like, okay, everybody heard that. And in my head, I'm going, oh my God, I gotta go correct, because that's like my teacher.
Yeah.
Big bro in broadcasting. I got to do this right. So that's why he hasn't been interviewed yet, because I'm not ready. I want it bigger, better, faster, stronger.
No, that's a great story. And I mean, I'm a huge fan of his too. So I think that's really interesting. Okay, so I got to wrap this up, but just have a couple quick questions. So we're going to just do a quick little fire line. What guest surprised you the most and why?
Ooh, Nikki Clark. Her tenacity. She has her own talk show, and her tenacity of just starting from the ground up. She's just amazing. She's one. Yep.
Who made you laugh?
Ali. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I had a segment where I just handed over the show and then let them ask a question of me, and he was like, "Oh," he goes, "Thank you for coming to my show." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." Don't get comfortable. And he goes, "So," he says, "you said you were a model, allegedly." Like, uh-oh. And he was like, "So, how much was your drug use in the 90s?" I'm like, ah! But you know what? We got to keep going. And
no holds barred. I love it. Who inspired you? Who's inspired you? They've come on your show and you're just inspired.
Oh, wow. There's so many. Amy DiCarlo, she inspired me because I wear all of her jewelry. She has Artemis jewelry gallery, and it's amazing. She started with her mom, and it motivated me to say, you know what, if you put your mind to it, you can do anything.
Yeah. Well, and you're proof of that, Simone.
Thank you.
I love your energy. You've got a great vibe. It is, there's no secret to your success. It's you, right? Like you are owning it, and I love it. So tell our viewers and listeners how they can find you.
Well, they can find me actually celebrating our 6th anniversary. We did our first upload today, and they can find us at about it's about SimoneRC.com. I have way too many.
Are you Instagram,
Twitter? Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Flickr.
You do have a lot. Okay, so good. Link to the website and go from there.
Yep.
Thanks for coming on our show. I really enjoyed chatting with you.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so awesome. I love that you do a support for all women, all Canadian women that are out there. And I am, the Kansas Canadian because I have my permanent residency, and I'm very, very proud of that.
Right on. And I love what you're doing for, women and men, but in the fashion industry. I think it's really interesting in arts as well as entertainment. So fascinating. So mutual love, girl, mutual love.
That's right.
So thank you so much to our guest, Simone Riding Cunningham. And thanks to everyone who tuned in to listen. Your comments are welcomed and encouraged. And please subscribe to our Women's March Canada channel and receive updates every time we upload a new podcast, and that's usually on Fridays. Our mission across Canada is to stand together in solidarity with our partners and children for the protection of our rights, our safety, our health, and our families, recognizing that our vibrant and diverse communities are the strength of our country. This is the Women's March Canada podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Women's March CDA and our website, womensmarchcanada.com. I'm Melissa Durrell, and I'm wishing you a fantastic day. Take care. And we are done.